Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Prue Klein and I'm the Marketing Coordinator here at Wine Communicators of Australia. Today, we'll be hearing from Wine Australia's Senior Research and Development Manager, Jo Hargreaves, Philip Shaw Winemaker, Director of Wellington Wines and 2019 Future Leaders graduate, Nadja Wallington, and Seville Estate General Manager, Winemaker, and also 2019 Future Leaders graduate, Dylan McMahon. Together, they will provide you with a greater understanding of the program, a first-hand insight into their own experiences, and hopefully get you all excited about applying in 2021. We have allowed plenty of time for any questions you may have to be answered at the end of the webinar. However, feel free to send them through as they come to mind. They'll just come up in a chat screen. You can do this via the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. As usual, this webinar will be recorded and a link of the recording will be sent to you should you wish to watch the content again at a later stage. It is now my pleasure to hand over to you, Jo.
Thanks so much, Prue, and I'll just shuffle in a bit more. And also thanks, obviously, to Wine Communicators for the opportunity to present the webinar today, and also for to all of those that have tuned in, welcome. So I'm just going to start with a brief overview of the range of people development programs that Wine Australia funds and supports. And then I'll provide some more detail on the Future Leaders program, as well as highlight some of the outcomes from our 2019 graduates and also that of our previous alumni. You'll also then get the opportunity to hear firsthand from Nadja and Dylan about their experience in the program. And I'd like to thank them also for their time. And while I'm on the thank yous, I do want to acknowledge my colleague Belinda Bramley, who helped put this webinar together, and also Michael Downey from AWRI, who's in the background helping us out on all things technical. We will then, as Prue said, have time for Q&A at the end of our presentations. So Wine Australia funds a number of programs that support the professional development of people in the sector. And if you've got your phone handy, you can click on that QR code and that will take you directly to our people development page on the Wine Australia website. And I've also put the web address up there for those that haven't got their phone. So importantly, people development remains a key pillar in our new strategic plan. It's Strategy 5, Build Business Sustainability, Excellence and Leadership. And just a quick snippet from that section in our strat plan. We will help develop the leaders of tomorrow and build the skills of the leaders of today through regional governance and leadership programs that support a diverse and vibrant wine sector. So our two main leadership programs are Next Crop and Future Leaders. Some of you are probably well aware of Future Leaders program already, but Next Crop is a relatively new program that we've just reintroduced. It was actually started in the Barossa a few years ago, or more than a few years ago, as a pilot, and was coordinated by Nikki Robbins at the Barossa Grape and Wine Association. And we've brought it back in a slightly new look format. What it is a three-way partnership between Wine Australia, a regional association and a leadership development provider. The region is responsible for deciding on what topics they want to include in the program and how they want to run it. And also they manage the process for participation and selection in those programs. It's aimed at emerging leaders, but I want to be very clear that that doesn't mean that it's about age. It's really about focusing on building confidence of leaders in the region and keeping people connected to the region and also to the industry. And it might be working on specific challenges. Every region is different, so those programs can be highly tailored. Next Crop will be held in 2 regions every second year. And regional associations can apply to Wine Australia for funding to help run those programs. We'll have an application process open for regions next year, and that will be to run 2 programs in 2022, which does seem like a long way off, but is well worth the wait. The other thing we support is research scholarships for students. So we have top-up funding for PhD and Masters by Research students. This is about supporting postgrad students in the fields of wine, viticulture, and also wine business research. It's an opportunity that's open at the moment, and the guidelines are on our website. Applications for those scholarships close on the 6th of November. We also have a very strong alumni network from all of our supported programs, and Wine Australia plays a key role in supporting and bringing that network together from time to time, and also providing them ongoing access to professional development programs. And we also support scholarships in a number of programs that aren't run by us. We support the Science and Innovation Awards, the Nuffield Farming Scholarships, and also the National Farmers Federation Diversity in Ag Leadership Program. And there's more information about all of those programs on our website. So that brings me to Future Leaders. We've been running the program since 2006. It happens every second year, and we now have well over 100 alumni from that program. We've worked with a number of partners over the years to deliver the program. In the earlier days, we had a very strong relationship with the Australian Rural Leadership Foundation. And in 2017, we moved to a new partnership with a leadership development company, Pragmatic Thinking. And their web address is on the slide, as you'll see. And I do encourage you to have a look at their website and their resources. They do a fabulous blog as well. They're absolute leaders and legends in this field, and we're very fortunate to have them involved in delivering Future Leaders. So Future Leaders is a 5-month intensive program. It's held across June to November every second year, and it's generally a combination of face-to-face sessions, virtual sessions, and access to a coaching program. It covers a broad cross-section of leadership education, tailored experiences, and also exposure to various experts. But it's actually a program that we refine every year. So I can't sit here and tell you exactly what topics we'll be covering next year. But I think hearing from Dylan and Nadja will give you a really good sense of what we do cover in the program. And we evolve it because circumstances in the sector are changing all the time, as we well know from what's happened just in 2020 and on the back end of the fires from summer 2019 and 20. So we take all of that into account and evolve the program based on those situations more broadly, but also the actual group that is in the program and their specific development needs. As part of the program, participants also have an opportunity to research and write an essay or on a topic of their choice. They have a love-hate relationship with that process, I think. But at the end of the day, we publish those what we call thought leadership pieces in a book. And those books are also available online on our website. And I encourage you to read them because they're a fabulous snapshot of, current thinking and some fabulous ideas from each of our Future Leader participants. We also have hard copies or physical copies of those books if you would like some. I know we're not meant to have magazines and books lying around because of COVID, but they do make some fabulous reception or cellar door. You might want to have some in your cellar door, for example. So please reach out if you would like copies of those books. So I've included, the next couple of slides, I've included just some testimonials from a couple of our 2017 alumni. That's Alexia Roberts on your screen from Penny's Hill. So, we gather these testimonials at, during and at the end of each program, and we consistently get feedback that mentions terms like life-changing, challenging, amazing, took me out of my comfort zone, expanded my leadership network. I'm a better leader, I'm more self-aware, I'm a better communicator, I'm a better influencer. And Sarah Collingwood from Four Winds Vineyard in Canberra is the same. Both of these women have delivered pretty powerful testimonials. And I'll just take a quick sip of my drink while I let you read that quote on the screen. But I'm going to just throw a bit of a curveball out there and say, I'm a bit of a skeptic when it comes to leadership development for a number of reasons. I think, you know, it's frustrating to me to see that it's become a bit of a big business enterprise. There's no shortage of leadership development experts. And we also don't need to look very far to see examples of what you might consider bad leadership. Certainly in the world of politics, that's pretty evident today. But also I feel closer to home. I think we've probably all got examples of stories of leadership styles or leaders that didn't resonate or work for us. There's definitely not a one size fits all or cookie cutter solution to leadership development. And I also think the concept of leadership, as well as you know, what it means to be a leader, has been corrupted. It's not an end destination, and I think we need to kind of flip the narrative, and it makes a lot more sense when we look at it through the lens of lifelong learning and paying a bit more attention to experience over theory. So having said all of that, it makes me question whether we can teach leadership skills. So as a result, I've started to seriously measure the success and practice change that's occurring in our participants. So we surveyed our 2019 group at the start, the end, and also 6 months following their participation in Future Leaders in 2019. And they'll know this now, but I'll reach out again next year to see what they're up to and probably, you know, keep track of their careers forevermore. Look, the usual caveats around surveys apply. The answers are self-reported. We're not, you know, we don't have a control group. We're not speaking to their colleagues or people that work with them in, you know, in their leader capacity. But I think the results are really encouraging. So what I've put on this slide is just the top 4. They're the high level, pretty generic questions across 4 key leadership traits. How well they consider their leadership network to be, how long they've considered themselves a leader, how would they rate their ability to make leadership decisions, and what would others say about their communication style. We asked them to rank themselves from 1 to 100 on how good they considered those skills to be. So the light orange bar is their score at the start of the program, and then the darker orange ones are at the end and then 6 months following. And what you can see is, you know, this group are pretty impressive to start with, but then the percentage point change at the end of those programs is quite notable. You know, the lowest there is +10, and then obviously the network is +19, obviously taking into account they've immediately established their network by being involved in the program. But I think what's really important is that all of that practice change is still in place 6 months later. We also obviously asked them to rate their confidence across 16 very specific professional and personal leadership skills that we focused on in the program. And again, improvements were made across all of those areas, and those improvements were all in place or had even increased more 6 months later. And just one final bit of data from me that I think is interesting. We attempted to get a handle on the self-worth of individuals by asking them to quantify their value to the industry in monetary terms. It's probably, you know, a bit of a way out there question, but basically they could pick from the equivalent of, I guess, 5 different salary bands. And I think this was a useful question because it's a bit of a measure on how we perceive ourselves, and that, you know, that perception of ourselves influences the choices and the decisions that we're making. And it also, for Wine Australia, gives us a little bit of an indication of, you know, a return on investment, even though that's not a normal, traditional ROI measure. So at the start, only 3 participants valued themselves at over 150,000. But this increased to 7 on completion. And overall, if we took the average of all 15 at the start, they valued themselves at just under 1.5 million, and this increased to almost 2.1 million at the end. And that level was maintained 6 months following. So just a few more testimonials on your screen, this time from the 2019 alumni group. And of course, we'll hear from Nadja and Dylan in a moment, and also a picture there of Dr. Kath Kidman, who was involved in the program as well. I'll finish on a few really important points. The program is supported through the sector, for the sector, by the Grape and Wine Research Levies. It's coordinated by Wine Australia, but it is jointly owned with the industry peak body Australian Grape and Wine. And it's for individuals from across the whole value chain: winemakers, viddies, marketers, exporters, communicators, business managers, sommeliers, researchers, and more. And that makes it really interesting because some of those people may be, in a traditional business sense, competitors. The other thing is that we really do acknowledge the diverse outcomes amongst alumni. It's not just about ending up on a board or a committee, although many of our alumni are on those influential committees and boards that are making decisions for the sector. But in 2018, we surveyed the whole alumni, and that's, as I mentioned, well over 100 people. We had a 38% response rate to that survey, which I think is pretty good. So that was almost 70 individuals. So around 80% of those survey respondents indicated various levels of engagement across the sector. After completing Future Leaders, they were more likely to respond to industry reviews, to volunteer their time, to advocate for the sector, or actively engage in or promote practice change within their workplace and across their region. And the other thing is that while causal attribution is difficult to ascertain, 25% of those survey respondents indicated their participation definitely supported them gaining their current leadership position. So this is just a snippet of details, I guess, of what Future Leaders 2021 may look like. If you are interested in applying, applications will open in January and close probably early March at this stage. We will announce all of that in January. You can register your interest to be notified when applications open by emailing us at research@wineaustralia.com. You'll see I'm revealing the Future Leaders 2021 logo and colour, which I struggle with because I'm not a Port supporter, and I love the colour teal, but we have to live with that, and I'm very happy with it, and I do hope Port do well in the finals. So that's pretty much it from me, and I'm really pleased now to be able to hand over to Nadja and then Dylan. And I'll just, I won't steal their thunder, but just quickly, it's worth noting. Nadja completed her Bachelor of Winemaking and Viticulture through Charles Sturt University in 2010, and then spent 3 years overseas working as a winemaker in California, South Africa, and Bordeaux. Since 2014, Nadja has been at Philip Shaw Wines in Orange as a winemaker, and she's got some other exciting news to tell us as well. And then also Nadja will hand over to Dylan. Dylan graduated from Charles Sturt Uni as well with a Bachelor of Wine Science in 2008. Dylan took over as winemaker in 2004 and continues the wine styles that Dr. McMahon believed in, and that's at Seville Estate. Seville has since won extensive trophies and medals and was awarded the 2019 Winery of the Year from James Halliday Wine Companion. So thank you, and I will hand over to Nadja.
Thanks, Jo. Hi, I'm Nadja Wallington, and I'm the winemaker at Philip Shaw Wines, which is in Orange, and I'm also the director of my family business, Wallington Wines in the Central Ranges. I'd just like to thank the wine communicators for having me present today, and also, of course, to Jo, Belinda and Wine Australia for giving me the opportunity to have been part of the Future Leaders program last year. I just wanted to start with why I applied to do the Future Leaders program and what I expected to get from the experience. I'd been encouraged by alumni to do the program, many of whom regarded it as one of the most valuable programs that they'd been a part of. And you would have seen in Jo's testimonials on the last presentation just how much it meant to those people. And I sort of expected to be given a roadmap on how to be successful and how to be of value in the Australian wine industry. But the experience was far more than that, and it was really nothing short of a life-changing experience for me. So the program aims, as Joe said, to engage people from across the entire wine grape value chain, from viticulturalists and winemakers, marketers, sales, export, business development, market development, directors, event managers, sommeliers, research. So sort of everyone, which is fabulous, because needless to say, this really gives you an opportunity to build relationships with people from right across the industry, and learning more about how we're all contributing, gaining perspective, and just opening up your network. My primary focus has always been production, but through the program I was able to build lifelong friendships with people from all aspects of the wine industry. Going through the program with like-minded peers gave me a great sense of community, knowing that we're all facing different challenges. But there was something really grounding, knowing that we're all experiencing fears, failings, and setbacks, as well as our successes. I got so much from sharing openly with others and hearing about their experiences, which really helped all of us grow together as a team. We were guided through our course by Mikey and Beck from Pragmatic Thinking, who were absolutely brilliant. They made all of the information digestible, fun, engaging, relatable, but most of all, useful. Their friendship and guidance was so important to the success of the course. But I guess what surprised me most about the Future Leaders program was the focus that it had on us as individuals. And taking from Joe's presentation just before, I guess it changed my perception of what leadership was, because it really has a lot to do with learning about ourselves. The program challenged me to delve into my beliefs and values, which has helped me find a more meaningful foundation to my career and a clearer identity of who I am. It helped me to set goals that align with my beliefs and values, and understand the importance of recalibrating and making plans. Even if they change, the importance of setting goals and always checking that the path we're on is one that fulfills us is just so important. The program didn't tell me how to lead, but rather taught me a bit more about how I lead and how I can be better at leading. How to be more mindful, how to show empathy, to have difficult conversations, and resolve conflict are just a few of the key learnings I took. We also learnt how our bodies respond to stress and why it's important to look after ourselves so that we can always be our best. Simple things like making sure we're getting enough sleep. I was so encouraged that the course demonstrated the commitment and investment of Wine Australia in us as individuals, in helping us to find our best selves. The course taught me the importance of having clear values, not just for ourselves, but also for our businesses, with tools like vision statements, which gives power to employees and individuals to work within the best interests of the business. We're really lucky to meet some very inspiring people who shared their stories of leadership and how they rose to and accepted challenges, each offering learnings to us. We were also given opportunities to meet with leading figures in the wine industry across various boards who encouraged us to get involved and get informed. But probably my favourite part of the program, and as Joe mentioned, they're constantly changing the program and trying to make it better and better each year. So this was actually something that we were the first group to go through with, and that was the coaching. And this is where alumni gave up their time and paired with people from the 2019 Future Leaders group and helped them through some coaching material. And I was super fortunate to be paired with Corinna Wright of Oliver's Taringa, who really needs little introduction other than she is an amazing winemaker, super engaged with various committees and boards across the industry. Our coaches helped us to navigate our goals and put into action different learnings of the program. I was challenged to really get stuck in and get involved. Corinna helped me to take some really big steps, which I didn't think that I was ready for, but through the support, confidence and guidance that I got out of the Future Leaders program, this ultimately gave me the push that I needed to bite the bullet and start the process of purchasing my own vineyard, which and beginning my own brand with my partner, which is something that happened July this year. So as I said, it was absolutely life-changing for me to be a part of this program. Another challenge that I set with Corinna was to get more involved in wine judging. With her guidance, I put myself forward and became the chair of the Orange Wine Show committee, as well as securing a number of judging positions in Melbourne, Sydney, Griffith, Cowra. So I was going to have a pretty busy year getting around and doing a lot of wine shows. However, who could have predicted 2020? And I was so grateful to have just graduated from the Future Leaders program, because I was ready to take on all the challenges. So I thought, coming into the 2020 harvest, we were pretty crippled by drought, and we were working really hard just to keep the vineyards alive. I predicted that we were going to be down about 60% on some of our blocks, so we were just figuring out how to manage our business to deal with those shortcomings. And then as we started harvest, it became apparent that we were actually affected by smoke, which in a small region, I took the initiative to work directly with the AWRI and New South Wales Wine, people who I'd been introduced to through the program, and I became their point of contact to ensure that we were doing everything that we could to provide our local businesses with the information that they needed to make difficult decisions, from dissemination of information, organisation of smoke panel tastings, AWRI workshops and sample collections. I took the lead to make sure that we as a region could do our best. It was difficult managing staff who had come across the globe to work with our team with nothing to do, having difficult conversations with growers and contract clients, and accepting that we were in for big losses, unable to make any wine for 2020, both at Phillip Shaw Wines and for my family company. So we were having to pivot our business for that, and I was putting into practice a lot of the learnings that I'd taken from the 2020 Future Leaders program. And then, just as we were coming to the end of that, we were thrown into COVID. And I scrambled to get my international staff back to their respective home countries and help our business pivot as restrictions began to come into place. And just when it was probably starting to get to the end of my tether, Joe and Belinda from Wine Australia were there checking in and giving us the opportunity to come together as alumni to work through the challenges that we were facing with programs guided by pragmatic thinking. I cannot explain how much this ongoing support helped me and the other alumni who took part in the Navigating Uncertainty program. It was a great reminder of all the things that I had learnt last year. I had thought that I was putting most of them into action, but I'd certainly neglected a lot. And so it was just nice to have this reminder and going through that material again with another group of people. I'd been so focused on responding to the challenges before me, I'd forgotten to take time to take care of myself. An initial challenge of just finding something to make me laugh each day was a game changer. Where I'd been really starting to feel the strain and stresses, this really helped me out of my slump. And again, the community of alumni, seeing that we're all facing these challenges together, talking with lots of people that I respect greatly and admire in our industry, and seeing that they too were feeling the pressure of all of this was comforting. The program's alumni are dotted through the industry, and through being a part of the program, it really shines a light on you as somebody who wants to be involved and helps you to be recognised as a future leader. Since my Future Leaders course, I've been nominated for a number of roles by alumni eager to get me involved. So I'm now the secretary of our Regional Vignerons Association, and I've also been nominated to the ASVO board as the New South Wales member. And it's not that I couldn't have done these things without the program, but the program really gave me the push and the confidence and the drive that I needed to get more involved. and also to know that my contribution was relevant. So I do really encourage anyone who is interested in being a part of the Future Leaders program and the future of the Australian wine industry to apply for the program. I guarantee that you'll learn a lot, make some great friends, and have a clearer vision of what's ahead. So those two photos that we're finishing with, that's just our group on our last session. And then the other photo down in the corner, that's me and my fiance, who I'm marrying at the end of this month. And that's us at our new property. So that's very exciting. And now I'd like to hand over to Dylan, because no doubt he's going to tell you a lot more.
Thanks, Nadia. It was great. Let me just try to bring this up. Excellent. You actually stole a few of my images that I was going for, so I had to sort of scrounge through the phone and actually work it and look at some back images and stuff to try to use for my PowerPoint.
Sorry.
Anyway, thank you. And my name is Dylan McMahon. I'm the General Manager and winemaker here at Seville Estate. I want to have a big thanks to Prue and the wine communicators for inviting me to present today. And also a big thanks to Joe and obviously Wine Australia for obviously the, being able to be part of the Future Leaders last year. And to all the attendees, so welcome. I guess as a bit of a sort of an intro, my presentation will be, again, a personal reflection of the program and what I got out of it, and how it's changed me. And, not only changed me personally, but also in my working life. So similar to Nadia, I'm going to go through sort of the why, what, and how of the program. Why the Future Leaders, what I learned, and then actually how it changed me. So why? Well, I'm actually really quite thankful that Joe actually brought this up before, because I actually have I personally struggle with the concept of the program. Not the program itself after experiencing it, that's completely different. This is a sort of struggle prior to applying for the program. I've always found the word leadership as a bit of a corny cliche, I guess, something that's been thrown around for the corporates, larger companies that sort of thrive off that sort of culture, I guess. And growing up in a small business and being around small businesses, I never really sort of clicked with the whole concept of leadership. But it wasn't until, and especially clicking with being able to call myself a leader, I find that, and I still find that tricky today. So if anyone's thinking about applying and struggles a little bit like that, put that aside. I guarantee the program definitely shows you the light. It was a friend's recommendation, I think, that really kind of got me over the line, and speaking to some other colleagues that really sort of told me some of the benefits that they got out of the program. And so that highly sort of recommendation sort of tipped me over, and I sort of decided to have a bit of a crack at it. Putting that aside, I also felt it was kind of in my stage of life, I suppose I felt it was my responsibility, I guess, to learn and understand better. I felt that, it was my responsibility to learn and become more aware of my impact on people around me, including the people I work with, and also to my family and friends. And some of the concepts that the program goes through, I think, definitely deals with that. And it was also, I suppose, an ability to sort of an opportunity to deal with some personal struggles that I was going through as well. And I think that the course definitely lays the groundwork out to you know, to sort of help you through it. So the course gives you a huge dynamic of different material that you'll go through. And I guess I'll just touch on some of the points that I took out of it, what I found really beneficial towards for me. One of them was in our first meet was we ran through the identity of leadership. And this was one of the key points that I got out of that first session, is just considering how our mindset, our values and beliefs define us, and how we wrestle with them to be our best self. The values part of it, I got a lot out of. I struggled with it to begin with, and pretty much by the end of the whole program, I actually kind of locked into this whole values concept, and it was a bit of a light bulb moment for me. So I'm internally grateful for being sort of led through that opportunity. I also found the exploration of identity, being defined as, as the stories we tell ourselves, past, future and present. I found that really interesting. And then also the reflection activities that encourage us to flip the stories that we have in our head that no longer serves us. And I suppose how to notice the now, I guess, and be more grateful and mindful about our presence, and how that serves as sort of a more healthy future. Then the next sort of session was the science of leadership, and I found this also really interesting. Nadja touched on it before, just the simple act of breathing. I couldn't believe how much of a difference that makes. I remember in our first session, we actually got these tracking devices taped to our chest, and it actually measured our heart rate. And while we sort of did all different types of activities, including the motorbike riding thing that you saw before, but while we slept, when we learnt, eating, drinking, all that, and it kind of tracked us. And we actually learned about that in our second session. And it was a massive, big eye opener about understanding our rests and when we're on and when we're off. And then also the importance of sleep, and being in the wine industry is, yes, that's a bit of a challenging one to get that right. So it's really interesting to sort of go through that. Then our last session was the art of leadership. And this was kind of, this was much more about dealing with people, I guess, and in the workplace. And I found the first two sessions, the identity of leadership, the science of leadership, they were all very personal explorations of yourself and how you found out about yourself. The art of leadership was much more, I found, really helpful in terms of my day-to-day operations as a general manager here at Seville Estate. So, dealing with the tough stuff, COVID, for instance, our body language, our better conversations that we have with ourselves, and then also creating a positive work culture, which was something that I took on close to heart. So how it changed me? Well, this is quite, the change is quite subtle, I think, to begin with. You don't really conceptualize what it is. I think it's something that, for me, I found built over time, especially while I was doing the program. But just the first point was just recognizing what's in front of you. It seems quite a simple thing, but I gained a much deeper understanding of my surroundings. That might sound a little bit corny, I guess, but it helped me recognize the simple things of appreciation and the opportunities, either personal or at work. Company culture. I never really gave too much attention to company culture prior to doing the Future Leaders course. But I have a much deeper appreciation of company culture, and particularly the stories we tell. The importance of those has been not only dramatic for myself, but also had a big impact on how I actually sort of run Seville Estate here, and it'll it spills all over into all our marketing, you know. And the impact has been much more significant than I originally imagined. And the funny thing was, it was at my fingertips this whole time, and I just never really sort of, I suppose, triggered about how important that is. And I, you know, full testament to the program for helping me recognise that. It also led me to write my thought piece, which was titled "The Importance of Connection," and that was something that, again, I struggled to work out a topic to write. And over time, the importance of connection for me in the work, you know, at this place, with its ingrained history of my grandfather originally starting the place to how we run it now, is really important. And we use that throughout the whole business, you know, in terms of how we, you know, the history and the connection of Seville Estate and how it translates to our staff and customers. You know, the stories are our brand currency, and we need to be telling them in an authentic way. And this is something that we use a lot in the business. So I'm just going to have a drink of water. The other was personal development and growth. I think I've grown a lot personally over this time in the last, you know, sort of year now that we're sort of coming around from the program. And predominantly in terms of just some personal development of confidence, my ability to recognise opportunities and implement them in my workplace and in my personal life. I think I've become more rational and better, and I have a better, broader perspective of life and other people's expectations. I also become more comfortable with my own shortcomings and not feeling embarrassed by them. And, you know, that sort of really kind of gave me the sort of the bedwork to deal with COVID life and staying and trying to sort of bridge that gap between, you know, obviously just dealing with being in COVID, but also trying to stay relevant as a business and also staying connected with customers. I mean, I'm sitting here in Melbourne Metropolitan, so we're still well and truly in lockdown here. So we're very much dealing with heavy restrictions around COVID. So the mayhem of COVID started in March for us, and it just hasn't stopped. So it's the stamina, I think, that is really important during these times. Because it's not just a short little window that we have to cope with. This has been now quite a lengthy, you know, sort of 6-month ordeal for us. But while I've always been quite a creative person, I think being able to implement ideas implement those creative ideas, I've always struggled with, because there's a sort of a confidence barrier. So learning about vulnerability and topics like that through the program gave me the sort of the confidence to sort of go out and trial things and really sort of try to test the waters a little bit, and, you know, be happy and own mistakes. I mean, I think the biggest failings that you could do during, you know, these sorts of times is not trial things and not being, because that's a failure in itself. So mistakes, and we've made a few mistakes, that's for sure, but we've done a lot of amazing things. You know, we've implemented a whole here in the business, we've implemented a whole new takeaway option. Luckily our vintage was pretty small, so we got that out of the way really quite quickly, and everyone went to work in the vineyard. We had some phone campaigns going, so there was that income side of the business sort of ticking away. But one of the main things that I was really concerned about was just the connection. We've lost connection with everyone. We don't have people coming on site, experiencing this beautiful place, meeting people. So how do we do that? So we flipped some of our social media connections or information to much more an educational base. where we were doing a sort of a live at 5 once every fortnight, and that would be anything about, you know, going out of the vineyard and looking at bud burst. But that in connection to our customers was really important. Also designing up little tasting vials that we'll send out and then do online tastings and hosting, especially for our new releases that are coming out at the moment. So that was one of the connection bases for our customers, but also the staff was really important as well. So how we were staying connected to our staff. We had people sort of everywhere a little bit, but predominantly mostly everyone on site, but keeping their morale, motivation, mental health all going. You know, the tools that I got from the Future Leaders program really kind of helped me dial in and quickly put together things like, you know, mental health days where we just went and hit golf balls through the vineyard and you know, or set up, the restaurant became a table tennis competition for a few weeks. And we'll just dedicate a day a week or a day every couple of weeks to, you know, just being social, but being social on a different level rather than just being worried about work. So again, you know, all those things that we did, I feel like I've benefited highly from the program. You know, the program's kind of, you know, definitely sort of putting me, you know, has given me those tools. I think the Future Leaders program is an amazing opportunity for anyone that wants to expand their horizons. And also, you know, I'm internally grateful for the networks and the friendships that I have, that I've made over that time as well. You know, the program will show you how to be, it doesn't show you how to be a better leader or the leader, but it gives you the tools for you to better craft your own vision of leadership. And I think that's really important. And Nadja sort of touched on that as well. So I can't recommend the course highly enough. Please apply, as Joe said. And again, thanks to the Wine Communicators and to Wine Australia for that opportunity. And I'll throw back to Prue now from the Wine Communicators for any Q&A.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much, Dylan, and also to Nadja and Joe. It was such an honest and informative insight into the Future Leaders program, and we truly appreciate your time. And I hope that everyone listening has got value out of tuning in. Please take this opportunity while you have these 3 Future Leader gurus available to answer your questions, to send them through the chat now. And whilst you're having a think about your questions and sending them through, I do have one for you, Joe. Can you explain to us a little bit more about the application process of Future Leaders?
Sure. What we normally do, Prue, once applications open, we have a dedicated website platform for Future Leaders, and the application form is on that website. It's we like to keep it, you know, fairly simple. So there's the online form for people to fill in that will ask questions like, you know, they might need to put in some examples of their leadership actions to date, what they might be, you know, their perception of what they're currently contributing to the broader industry, and more importantly, to identify their focus areas for their leadership professional development. We do ask for a video contribution, which I know scares a lot of people, but I guess my advice to you is don't let that prevent you from applying, and don't overanalyze doing that video. It's a very, you know, couple of minutes. We give you a specific question that you answer in developing that video. So it's not like you have a blank page to, you know, not knowing what to say. And we also obviously ask for a copy of the CV and some referees. I guess my tip to everybody that is applying is to keep your answers succinct. Make sure you answer the question that's being asked of you, and maybe get somebody to check your application before you submit it. But maybe I might ask Nadja what your perception of the application process was for you.
Well, I found the video part of it very daunting. I think I did mine at least 25 times before I actually submitted anything, because I was also doing it during harvest. But, you know, they do give you a structure to work within. You are answering questions. So, yeah, the video itself, I think I did many takes, but otherwise the process, I found it to be all very straightforward. And yeah, just keeping your answers succinct and take the time to think about your answers. And I certainly showed it to those alumni who had sort of encouraged me to apply. So I had them looking at it as well. So yeah.
Right. Nice to see that there are some questions coming through. So I think the first one, Jo, you're almost going to be the best person to answer. And this is from Casey. She's just wondering, how many applications do you generally get each year and how many placements are there to fill?
Yeah, very good question, Casey. And I can't deny that it is a competitive program to get into. I wish we had funding to be able to offer and run this. You know, we could run 3 programs every year and still not meet demand. So we normally do get around 100 applications every time we're running Future Leaders, and we generally take only 15 participants. Having said that, you know, we've had people come into the program that have applied at least 2 or 3 times before they get that place. And as frustrating as that sounds, you know, I still encourage you to apply and put your best foot forward.
Great, thank you. Next one I'm going to ask to Dylan, and certainly Nadja, you're welcome to have your input too. What would you do differently if you did it again, if you were part of the Future Leaders program?
I don't think I actually would do anything different. I actually went into it, I made a promise to myself. When you first start, you kind of make this sort of pledge, I guess. It's another little corny thing. There's some corny things in there, but most of it's really good. But you make this sort of pledge where you talk about how you're going to approach the program. And for me, it was very much, I went with it completely open-minded. I tried to put all that perceived or preconception of it being a bit, you know, corny or whatever of leadership aside. And I kind of went into it with a open book and just complete blank mind and just willing to take on anything. And so I can't recommend doing that highly enough, not to come in with any perceived ideas and just actually to approach it wholeheartedly. Not
Right.
to steal a coin from, you know, Brown, but Brene Brown, which you'll learn a lot about. But how about you, Nadja? What did you do? Would you do anything different?
I packed differently for the first session, to be fair, because we froze. No,
but you don't know that.
No, but apart from that, I guess I wouldn't change much because it is about the growth that you get from the program. As similar to Dylan, I went into it with a pretty open mind about what I could get out of it and how to approach it. But, you know, my confidence and that grew enormously through being a part of the program. So it's, yeah, I don't think I'd change too much.
Right.
Just attacking.
Low expectations. It's always a good thing.
And there's also just a follow-up question from Casey. She's asking Nadja and Dylan's descriptions. Seems to be a generalist leadership program. Does it delve specifically into leadership in the wine industry?
Well, we did get the opportunity to work on, which Dylan and I didn't talk about, and I did have a note to do it, where we actually collaborated with our cohort. So we split off and we did a presentation at the end of our course on issues that were specific to the wine industry. So my group, Dylan and I were in different groups, so he can tell you more about his, but we looked at sort of encouraging people into the industry and different ways that we could achieve that. So we did a presentation to Wine Australia on that, and I think some of that has gained a little bit of momentum, so that was quite specific.
Great. Dylan,
Yeah.
do you want to add?
Yeah, I suppose I'll go back to my other comments again. I think it's very much the program is designed to give you the tools, but in saying that, it gives you plenty of opportunities to sort of take those tools and really fine tune them, and also gives you a lot of opportunities to meet a lot of key members in the wine industry. It also, you know, gets you involved in people like yourselves, Prue and Joe. You know, access to Wine Australia, wine communicators. You've got, especially through your coaching, you get access to a lot of people, industry-based people that then you can leverage from. So while it doesn't sort of step you out a written, you know, guide, this is how to be a sort of a leader in the wine industry, it gives you all the opportunities to take that and for you to sort of find it yourself.
Great. And we've got a couple of questions in there about the type of people that do apply for the program, Joe. I think it's probably one for you. Is there an age limit? What's the general age of the participants? And then are there any prerequisites to apply, such as, you know, their role, their age and their past studies?
A very easy question to answer, because we don't really have any rules around this, because it is such a unique program and such a unique opportunity in the sector. So generally, I would say typically applicants and people that do apply and people that are participating in the program are generally mid-career. But, you know, age is definitely not a factor. The real role in the sector is not a factor. And, you know, we encourage that diversity. So it's not just for technical winemakers or technical viddies. It spans that whole value chain, and we take great pride in being able to reach that diverse community in the sector. I would say that there's really only two things that you will have in common with participants or other applicants, and that's, as both Dylan and Nadja have alluded to, is that open, creative, inquisitive mind, and also your demonstrated commitment to the wine sector's success. I guess, you know, just following on from that, I think, you know, I've been involved. I started working at Wine Australia 3 years ago and have only been involved in Future Leaders for just over 3 years. And it's not often that you'll find an industry sector that's really committed to the genuine well-being of its participants through a platform like this. So, you know, that's why we don't really stipulate any particular prerequisites.
Great. Thank you so much, Joe. And we've got one final question in there. Other than the Future Leaders program, what other ways do you suggest for people to network and become more involved in the Australian wine industry? Most probably a question that all three of you could answer based on your own personal experiences.
Maybe I'll
Please
start. You know, I think there's opportunities to connect, particularly at your regional level to start with. So have a look at what committees or local you know, associations you might be able to get involved with. I think it's, you know, putting yourself out there, making yourself known, following your passion. You might have a particular interest in certain aspects of the industry that you want to explore. So seek out where there's committees or projects or opportunities that you can put your hand up for, and acknowledging that, you know, a lot of this is a volunteer capacity, and we don't underestimate the time that people are putting in that they're not getting paid for in some of these leadership roles. And, you know, I think it's important that we acknowledge that. Yeah, but all I can say is, you know, there are opportunities.
Great. Nadja or Dylan, do you have anything to add to that?
No, not really. I mean, Joe's completely right. I mean, you know, local associations, especially in the wine industry, are always crying out for people to be involved and to get amongst it. But definitely put yourself out there. There's a lot of places that will actually take up volunteers quite happily, actually, and exploit them, but in a good way. And, you know, wine shows, you know, stewarding, all that sort of stuff. It's just about sort of getting out there and starting some connections and some contacts.
Great. Thank you. Well, I think that's all for questions. So I'm actually going to take this opportunity to wrap everything up. Thank you again to Joe, Dylan and Nadja for your time today and your amazing insight into your own experiences. I'm certainly excited to see what happens with the next crop program as well. And thank you everyone who's attended. So our next and final webinar here at WCA for the year will be held on Tuesday, the 10th of November. So please put that date in your diary. It's going to be presented by the BDO Australia team. So they're going to provide some valuable insight and tips on surviving the financial impact of this pandemic on wine businesses, and also just chat a bit more about what grants are available to wine businesses. For WCA members, all recordings from previous webinars are held on our website in the members section, and Wine Australia sponsored webinars such as the one we have enjoyed today, everyone has free access to and is available on the WCA YouTube station. So please go to our website to find these recordings. And finally, if you have any suggestions on webinar topics you'd like us to cover in next year's program, please email me at wca@winecommunicators.com.au. Thank you again for joining us. Take care, and we hope to see you again in November. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.